believe that the finest cricketers in the world and the finest cricket that the world is going to see.
In an era of sponsored athletes and franchised leagues, it is hard to imagine a time where professional sports players were underpaid and overworked. But in the 1970s, the game of cricket was one entangled in its own outdated traditions, with 5-day-long test matches playing out with dwindling crowd numbers. The game was falling to its knees. In an unprecedented move for the time though, an Australian billionaire by the name of Kerry Packer, who had a strong vision for the future of the game, secretly bought out the leading players of the sport from around the world at the time to start a competition that would play in direct rivalry to the international game. Playing on the fields of trotting tracks and football grounds under lights for the first time, players ditched their whites for colourful jerseys as Packer took the game free to air in a bid to re-spark the commercial aspirations of his father's media empire and the cultural passion for the game in Australia. His competition was known as World Series Cricket, and this is the story of what happens when a billionaire decides to buy his own sporting league. It all started following the death of Channel 9's owner Sir Frank Packer in 1974. The network's owner passed away as his media empire, like cricket around the world at the time, was despondent to the changing audiences of the 1970s. His son, Kerry Packer, saw this, and when appointed owner of Publishing and Broadcasting Limited, pushed a cricket-driven business agenda because he had a vision, and he saw how the game of cricket was failing to capture its full commercial potential at the time. So determined to get cricket onto his channel, Packer offered the Australian Cricket Board 8 times the amount of the previous contract, but was declined, which is why he set up his own league.
I was willing to pay big money to cover cricket, but they blocked me at every turn. So now, we're doing our own thing.
Packer started by secretly signing English captain at the time, Tony Greig, alongside 35 of the best Australian and West Indian players to rebel against the traditional code. This was made possible by the poor salaries of the players at the time, with Packer's big paychecks able to lure many towards this rogue league, as some players were struggling to get by, balancing their professional careers with their individual lives. World Series Cricket would go on to tour Australia and various locations around the world in 1977, playing 5-day games known as Super Tests alongside a circus of one-day fixtures. The world media, most notably the British media, were outraged by World Series Cricket, and teams and boards were divided between loyalists and those who went off with Packer's league. Because of this, World Series Cricket was immediately put on the back foot, and it wasn't helped as the International Cricket Council banned the competition from all cricket grounds around the world, as well as the use of the Australian team name in competitions. So, Packer had to get creative. Utilising the various football grounds and horse racing circuits he could get his hands onto as cricket venues, Packer pioneered the idea of the drop-in pitch to be able to make non-cricket venues playable. Despite being able to get his competition up and going, the first season of World Series Cricket in 1977 was a bit of a struggle. The media continued to slander Packer's league and backed the pluckiness of the original international code, who was struggling for players at the time.
But on today's gate takings, the World Series Cricket entrepreneur wouldn't have made a cracker.
This wasn't helped by the fact that the Australian side in the traditional game at the time, who had been ripped of many of their best players by Packer's league, were outperforming themselves that summer and managed to bring home an unlikely but classic 3-2 series win against India, taking the game into the final test. So Packer had to step up his game.
It will be a revolution.
Installing bright LED lights to introduce the first use of day-night cricket with a white ball to the world, Packer learned how to repackage and resell the game of cricket as a fast-paced game to a wider audience through the use of his free-to-air network. Packer employed fancy graphics, daytime talk shows to talk about the game, and tribalistic marketing strategies embodying a national identity to get Australia behind the sport he believed was so quintessential to the nation's identity. This is how in the second season of World Series Cricket, the game started to grow as his vision was finally coming to fruition. As World Series Cricket started selling out grounds, meanwhile the opposite was happening to the traditional game as Australia's side flopped in the summer of '78, getting smashed 5-1 in the Ashes at home. Due to the success of Packers League that year and the struggles of the traditional game in '78, the two parties recognised they did not need to compete anymore. Packer and Cricket Australia came to an agreement, and that agreement was to end World Series cricket by offering the television rights to Channel 9.
We started off having a war with the cricket board. We ended up being friends with them, and between them and us, I think we've ended up doing a service for cricket.
And while it reunified cricket back under one sporting code and league, the decision was met with speculation by many, as much of the press believed that Cricket Australia had caved to Packers' wants. Despite only lasting 2 seasons, the broadcasting rights of cricket in Australia remained with Channel 9 for the next 30 years, and the developments from World Series cricket, such as the use of nighttime games, colourful uniforms, drop-in pitches, international tri-series fixtures, and the use of the game as a commercial tool reshaped and remodeled the game into the world-dominating sport cricket remains to this day. Whether you think it was good or bad for cricket is up to you to decide, but you cannot ignore the impact that Packer and World Series cricket had on the game. Thanks for watching.